the first video that we have for 2023 fantasy football leagues. Gonna be extremely excited to dive into this because I feel like we have a better sense of the situation these running backs currently find themselves in. I think we have a better sense of what we should assume that we get with a rookie like Bijan Robinson going into year one. And what's actually really cool about Bijan Robinson is yours truly may actually get to interview the man. We are going to the NFL draft red carpet and we will be interviewing these 17 players. So I need two things from you. One, you better tune into that live stream that we have on this channel before the NFL draft. And two, I need you to ask any questions you want from these players down in the comment section. I need your help. I'm interviewing these guys. What do I ask them? Please give me some questions there. And of course, down there in the comment section, you can find the link to flockfantasy.com. On flockfantasy.com, you can always find our rankings. You can find the rankings of all your favorite fantasy football creators. You can get access to my Dynasty research book. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, you're actually going to get 30% off any subscription. And with promo code FLOCK, yours truly will go through and break down your fantasy football team. But I think that should be about it. Let's go into these running backs. Starting off, numero uno, the guy in his own tier, Christian McCaffrey. Now with CMC, I am very excited about the floor and ceiling that he has this next season. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to say, well, Mason, how does he have a high floor? We know with Christian McCaffrey, year in and year out, we are having to deal with injuries. We know with Christian McCaffrey, even if he stayed healthy this past season, he is going to be at risk to get injured. And I understand why someone would say that, right? Because if you're looking at Christian McCaffrey, back in 2020, he only plays 3 games. Back in 2021, he only plays 7 games. So it's an understandable point, but what we have to look into will be the different usage that Christian McCaffrey now has as a San Francisco 49er versus as a Carolina Panther. Because why was Christian McCaffrey getting injured in Carolina? Well, you go back to 2019 and Christian McCaffrey's a running back that has 403 touches. 403 touches in 16 games. Let me get out a little calculator here to figure out how many times Christian McCaffrey was actually touching the football. Over 25, okay? In San Francisco, they are not going to ask him to handle that kind of workload, which maybe you're hesitant to say, well, Mason, if he's not getting that kind of workload, is he still the number 1 running back overall in fantasy? And my answer to that would be yes. Because with Christian McCaffrey, for him to be the number 1 overall running back in fantasy in Carolina, he needed to have over 20 touches per game because the Carolina Panthers were bad. Carolina was horrendous. So if you were going to put up elite fantasy numbers, you couldn't really do it with efficiency. You had to do it with volume. So what we actually may see with Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco is we may see the volume come down. I'm not expecting him to get another 25 touch per game season, but what we could see is even if the volume goes down where instead he is touching the ball, say 18-ish times a game, 17 times a game, because the offensive line will be significantly better, the scheme will be significantly better, and the overall offense will have more sustained drives, particularly opportunities in the red zone. Christian McCaffrey, from a per touch standpoint, will actually score significantly more fantasy points. So it's a really unique situation for CMC in San Francisco in that the lower workload should allow him to stay healthy. And at the same time, because the efficiency should most likely come up, the lower workload doesn't inherently mean fewer fantasy points. So I think you have to have Christian McCaffrey in tier 1 by himself. Really just comes down to, are you taking Justin Jefferson? Are you taking Jamar Chase over CMC? Now going over to Austin Ekeler at 2, I want to pull up the most recent rumors that we have with Austin Ekeler, right? Because the big issue that we have with Ekeler, even though he was the running back 1 last season, you can't really rank him there. You can't even put him in tier 1 when you don't know if he's going to be on the Chargers. I mean, right now, if you're looking at Las Vegas sportsbooks, they're telling us that the Chargers have a shot to take Bijan Robinson. And the reason that they are saying that is not because you expect Bijan Robinson to come in and split the backfield with Austin Ekeler. No. The expectation is Austin Ekeler right now is playing on a contract where he shouldn't be. He has no deal in 2024. This is the last year of his contract. He's been back-to-back pretty much the most effective running back in the NFL. And the man has $1.5 million on the dead cap this year. The man is getting paid $7 million in general. I mean, if you're going to be comparing this to someone who just signed like the franchise tag, like if we're going to go over and look at Tony Pollard, that $7 million doesn't look like a lot when Tony Pollard's getting $10 million. And like we said, Ekeler has no long-term deal. So Eckler's been positioning himself saying, you know what? If y'all don't want to extend me, trade me somewhere else. Send me to a team that will actually give me that contract. And you can't blame Austin Ekeler for thinking that way when the man's been so damn good over the past few years. When he's 27 years old at the running back position, he's smart enough to know that he's not going to be doing this 10 years from now. So he wants the contract, and almost any situation in the entire NFL would be worse than the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers, you have an elite offense. You have a quarterback that's not going to run the ball a ton, so you're going to get targets out of the backfield. And at the same time, you don't have that quarterback vulturing rushing touchdowns. You have Kellen Moore there, who should push the pace of play. You have a very good situation for Ekeler in Los Angeles. Really just hoping that it stays there. Now, going over to our third guy, we are going to have Jonathan Taylor. Now with Taylor, you're also uncertain of the situation, right? As of now, it looks like Will Levis is most likely going to be a starting quarterback this next season. And y'all know I was a hater of the Indianapolis Colts and Matt Ryan last year. We were coming out saying Michael Pittman Jr. was one of the most overrated players in fantasy because people thought he was all of a sudden Julio Jones because he had Matt Ryan. It made no sense whatsoever. If we are looking at Will Levis, I don't necessarily expect Will Levis to come in and be an elite level quarterback, but it'll be better than Matt Ryan was a year ago. The Indianapolis Colts couldn't really be in a worse situation this next season. If we go back and look at what we had with Jonathan Taylor over the past few years, you have to remember a few different things, starting off with the fact that Jonathan Taylor was an elite, and I repeat, an elite prospect coming out of Wisconsin. If Jonathan Taylor would be in this draft class, obviously wouldn't be as good of a prospect as Bijan Robinson, but it would be pretty damn close. Like you could have that conversation with the elite athleticism, the ridiculous workload, and then also the fact that, the man has the size to go out there and handle 25 touches a game. We go back to 2021 where Jonathan Taylor led the NFL in rushing yards, led the NFL in rushing attempts, led the NFL in rushing touchdowns, led the NFL in rushing yards per game, had 51 targets, 40 receptions, and 360 receiving yards. Over 2,100 yards from scrimmage. So he is a running back that's only 24. He's a running back that was a truly generational type prospect. He's a running back that his second season in the NFL was the best RB in the league. And in my mind, his situation can't really be worse this next year than it was in 2022. So I am assuming we're getting a massive bounce back from JT. Obviously, there's a lot up in the air right now, which is a little difficult to pin him down. But let's go over to our next back. Going to be Saquon Barkley. With Barkley, you have concerns over the fact that he's saying he's not playing under the franchise tag, which going back to the Austin Ekeler situation, I can't blame Saquon Barkley at all for not wanting to play under the franchise tag. You're at running back. You don't really know what the longevity of your career looks like. And at the end of the day, you are one of the best players in the league at what you do. So yeah, go out there, go try to get that long-term extension. I would imagine that the Giants end up working out a deal with Saquon Barkley, even though they do re-sign Daniel Jones. If you're looking at Barkley, you had the massive bounce back this past season with Brian Dable just completely revamping this offense. Daniel Jones took a massive step forward. With Saquon Barkley, he was able to stay healthy. And if we're going back and looking at this now with Saquon Barkley, the man really has not missed too much time in his NFL career. You think Saquon Barkley, you think, okay, nagging injury after nagging injury. The man played 13 games in 2019. In 2020, he played 2, which is a little disappointing. 2021, he played 13, and 2022 he played 16. Now, obviously, 2021, it was an injury-riddled season, so the 13 games aren't really fair, but still, I think that people overinflate the risk of injury with a Saquon Barkley. I think people are now coming around to the fact that the man has almost as much receiving upside as anybody else in the NFL. You go back to his rookie season, the man had 121 targets out of the backfield. The man, as a rookie, led the NFL in yards from scrimmage. Past season, plays 16 games, 1,300 rushing yards, a career high. I want to see a little more involvement as a pass catcher. Now, the issue with Saquon Barkley and why I don't think he can get back to what he did his rookie season is we have to remember his rookie year he played with Eli Manning, right? Eli Manning, you can't run the ball. So as soon as the pocket collapses, you're looking to check the ball down from Saquon because you don't want to get hit. Now you have Daniel Jones. You have some rushing mobility there. So Daniel Jones isn't going to check the ball down as often, but still, it is going to be a 3-down profile that we want to be chasing. Now, our last running back in this tier is going to be Bijan Robinson. Yes, we are going to be willing to have a rookie this high. First off, hook 'em horns. Second off, if you want me to ask Bijan Robinson a specific question, of course, drop that down there in the comment section. But if we are looking at Bijan, the best running back prospect that we've had since Saquon Barkley, if you're looking at where he's right now projected to go in the NFL draft, I mean, he has actually climbed up draft boards according to NFL mock draft database throughout the course of this offseason. I mean, as of today, you have a lot of people talking about pick 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's too hard to pin down exactly where he is. But if we look at the average draft position across mock drafts in the industry, you have Bijan Robinson pick 9. So if we go through these boxes, he's a great athlete. He is arguably one of, if not the best passing down running backs in this draft class. The man has the size to handle 22 touches a game. The film is so good that he looks to be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft in a league where today teams don't value the running back position. This is the same league where the Los Angeles Chargers don't want to give Austin Ekeler a contract extension. Bijan Robinson is so good that a team's willing to take him inside the top 10 picks of the NFL draft. I'm excited. I am very interested to know the landing spot. And of course, as soon as we know the landing spot, we will be going through and making updated videos. Now, going over to our next back, we are going to have Kenneth Walker at 6. It's definitely going to be a teardrop down. With Kenneth Walker, I was extremely impressed in the fact that he actually went out there and caught the ball this past season. Now, y'all know my second most drafted running back in fantasy last year, only behind Josh Jacobs. We have to throw that in there while we still can. This is a running back that was a great athlete coming out, had the size to be a 3-down player, but the one red flag was could he catch the ball? He did his rookie year. I really don't have too many concerns. And the reason we're going to have him ahead of our next guy in Derrick Henry is I'm going to take the player that is ascending rather than the player that's on the decline. While Derrick Henry, yes, has shown time and time again that he is a freak, he is an outlier. It's not like we can look at just traditional marks of, okay, running backs fall off at age 27, at age 28. We're going to use that and we're going to hold that against Derrick Henry. No, Derrick Henry was 28 this past year, and the man went through and had 349 rush attempts. Like, Derrick Henry's built different. Now, at the same time with Derrick Henry, this is a running back that still doesn't really catch the ball, even though last year he did. Last year he had 41 targets, but historically he is not. And what's most concerning in my mind is Derrick Henry is most likely in the worst offense out of any of these other players on this list. Throw on the fact with Derrick Henry, this is a running back that's going to be 29 this next season. So we're looking at a 29-year-old running back that doesn't really catch the ball, that's going to be, in my mind, in one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Now, of course, he is a freak. He is the outlier of all outliers. And that's why I still have him up here at 7. That's why I'm not dropping him down to being the running back 15 or anything, okay? But there are clear, massive red flags that you have to take into account while drafting Derrick Henry. And someone that I almost would rather have over Derrick Henry, if I'm going to be honest, but I've just been burned too many times by drafting running backs off torn ACLs. We're going to have Breece Hall right after here. Breece Hall, before going down to injury, at one point was number 2 in the NFL in targets, only behind Austin Ekeler. I know there are a lot of nerds coming out saying, okay, Mason, look at his PFF grade. His PFF. Are we freaking joking? I mean, Breece Hall was an elite level athlete coming out. He checked every single box. Great athlete. Great pass catcher, great size, great NFL draft capital. This should be a vastly improved offense this next season. We're operating under the assumption that Rodgers will be the quarterback of the New York Jets. Now, of course, that's not a guarantee because it hasn't happened. But what is almost a guarantee is anything will be better than Zach Wilson was this past year. Like I said, I don't particularly know exactly what we should assume this offense is. Even if Rodgers comes over, Rodgers is far from the player he once was. But I can tell you one thing. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance, I don't care who it is here. They will be much, much, much better than Zach Wilson. Now, going down to our next tier, we are going to be looking at Nick Chubb, pick 29. With Nick Chubb, it's a very interesting spot in that I feel like I am actually going to be drafting him a decent amount here. Like if you look at where we rank Nick Chubb in comparison to the industry, like right now we have Nick Chubb on flockfantasy.com ranked as our running back 9, as our 28th player off the board. And the average ranking across flockfantasy.com is in the 30s here. I'm going to be fine being higher than consensus on Chubb, given the fact I expect the Cleveland Browns to actually be a better offense this next season when you have a full offseason for Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson can go back to looking like what he was in Houston. Now, at the same time, with the full implementation of Deshaun Watson in this offense, we can operate under the assumption that they're most likely not going to be as run heavy as they've been in the past. And with Deshaun Watson, because he can actually move, unlike a lot of the other quarterbacks that we've had in this offense in years past, you could possibly see fewer targets out of the backfield to the running back position. But what I like about Nick Chubb is he didn't win that way to begin with. It's not like he's an Austin Ekeler where the primary value that he's adding on is as a pass catcher. So I think Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson will actually complement each other nicely. I'm going to be very comfortable taking Nick Chubb this high in drafts. Now, number 10, you better believe we are sneaking our guy in here. We are going to have Josh Jacobs. How could I not? Our most drafted player in fantasy football last year. Helped us win $150,000 on Underdog Fantasy, which of course is very, very nice. Now, in terms of this upcoming season, it's going to be harder to draft Josh Jacobs in the same amount of leagues as we did a year ago because now everybody's kind of onto him. Now the price is going to be significantly higher. Not only will the price be significantly higher, but at the same time, we're uncertain of the situation with Jimmy Garoppolo coming in with this coaching staff in general. So I feel like I was a little more excited about drafting Josh Jacobs last offseason. Like having him ranked here as running back 10, I'd imagine that some people are actually probably telling us, Mason, you're an idiot. How is he this low? After last year, everybody screamed at us, Mason, you're an idiot. How is he this high? But I think that's all we have for this. Of course, thank you so much for checking out this video, and make sure you go down to the comment section and let me know any questions that you have for these 17 players that we will hopefully get to interview at the NFL red carpet. Be super happy to ask them one of your questions. And as always, you can find all of my premium content, all of my rankings, all the rankings for your favorite fantasy football creators, and so much more on flockfantasy.com. Sign up with promo code FLOCK and yours truly will go through and make a podcast breaking down your dynasty team. And at the same time, you will get 30% off any subscription. But thank you so much. Really appreciate you and really hope you have a great day.